I'm not really sure how to start speeches. I low-key feel like I need to pee my pants. Guess we just gotta get into it, huh? So, as our lives at Fremont come to an end, I'd like to take a moment to reflect on our passage throughout this daunting yet exciting stage of our life. At the beginning of our 4-year high school journey, we never paid attention to the things that often seem limitless. We became accustomed to the same routine day in and day out and never questioned its ordinance. On the cusp of adulthood, it is only toward the end of our journey that we would realize how much we would come to miss things we often took for granted. For me and most seniors alike, it'd be the last time that we dress up for prom, or the last time that we deck out in class colors for a rally. On the other hand, it would not be the last time that I would pull an all-nighter studying for a test, and it certainly would not be the last time that I would fall asleep in class the subsequent morning. You see, as the days toward graduation became numbered, it was only then that I realized the countdown began the moment I first walked on campus. Soon enough, I would be walking off campus with a diploma in one hand and my future in the other. And although I longed for a destiny like most of my peers, I followed a self-righteous path to a destiny that had no destination. My future held a much more cynical sentiment to me. Since adolescence, I had sustained a keen sense of procrastination and an inability to find merit in learning. As I transitioned into high school, I sought to create an image for myself because I had no connections to anyone. In turn, I had sacrificed my education for a lifestyle that had made me feel more disconnected with myself than I had ever felt before. My pledge to create a false sense of empowerment corrupted what it was that I valued in this world because I was conflicted between who I wanted to become and what I felt I needed to be. As convoluted as that sounds, one thing was clear to me, and it was that I was not happy with who I was. The magnitude of my negligence had manifested itself far beyond what I had preconceived. I lived a life with no purpose, and that made me have premonitions of the road it would lead me down, so I decided to make my own purpose. I dedicated myself toward helping other people overcome their demons, but my antics only emphasized how I was neglecting the very same ones that were haunting me. While I was busy placing people on my shoulders so that they could stay afloat, I felt like I was 6 feet under. And after a while, my sense of purpose felt empty. I realized that I had no place to tell other people how to live their lives if I didn't know how to live my own. In a downward spiral, I relied on substance abuse because it was easy at the time to cast aside my problems with momentary glimpses of happiness. But there was nothing happening. No merit in trying to find solace in a feeling I had become so numb to. I tripped to make the fall shorter. And in short, I had built an abundance of disappointment and hatred in who I had let myself become. After years of battling with depression, I sought to put a permanent end to my ignorance. The day after Christmas, I was in a hotel room with my family. I was hundreds of miles away from all of my friends, so I felt as though the setting was perfect. In the middle of the night, I made myself up to the rooftop, and I dangled off the edge, counting approximately how many seconds it would take for me to hit the bottom. And as I stood up there, I pondered how my life had led me up to this very moment, and I realized that I had hit the bottom a long time ago. I was indifferent to the horrors that would come about my death because I had only one motive on my mind. Yes, in that moment it truly felt like it was my last everything. I was ignorant to what death could yield, selfish for not explaining why, and evil for pushing an agenda that would cause more pain than I could ever feel. And before I had the chance to jump, the police arrived, and I can't really remember what happened after. All I can recall was everyone in their hotel room staring down at me, police officers putting me in handcuffs and stripping me and my family, and being shipped to a psychiatric facility where I would spend the next 6 days of my life cut off from the world. I won't stand here and explain what exactly it was that I endured in there. To be honest, I still have nightmares from what I had to endure. And the funny thing is, I came out feeling as though I had lost more than I had coming in with. In truth, the return to school was probably the hardest. I walked the campus each day feeling like a broken man, knowing that no one else knew what had happened to me, knowing that I had to put on a fad, as though I had a plaster mold of a smile that had never felt real. Even with the brigade of friends and teachers, I felt alone. I wouldn't eat, I couldn't speak. I had lost sight of who I was and what purpose I had in being alive. Every day was its own personal battle. I had to rebuild the remnants of a broken structure, balancing the difference between commodities and necessities. It was a riveting task to wake up every day knowing that I was inches away from death, but I knew that dwelling on what had already happened would prevent me from ever getting better. And after finally having the courage to accept that I am alive today by choice, I had to ask myself if what I was doing today benefited who I wanted to become tomorrow. I realized that this burden that I had carried with me for so many years would only continue to hold me down until I finally decided to accept that it was a part of me. It is undoubtable that we all make mistakes, and if you don't believe me, I hit a park car today, so I know what I'm talking about. See, I used to let the shadow of my former self hinder me from aspiring to the person that I wanted to become. The mistakes we commit in life, for however heinous they are, can never be undone, but they should never set a precedent for what we have yet to experience. That is why everything that you do from this moment on has to work toward building a foundation for the values that you uphold. As cliche as that sounds, sometimes you do have to take that road that is less traveled. Sometimes you do have to lose everything to gain what can only be the most invaluable lesson that I've learned to date, and that is, depression is baggage. Life is too short to feel sad about everything all the time, and sure, it sounds insensitive, until you understand that no one can remedy you from your sadness and anger but yourself. And obviously that is easier said than done, but no one can make the effort to pick yourself from up off the ground but you. In retrospect, although I stepped down from that ledge, it felt as though I had jumped off. Every moment after was just a reminder to myself to never let myself become what I had been so accustomed to feeling for several years. That is why to this day, I refuse to not go back to liking the old me. At times, the journey to build myself up from the ashes of my morale was more than I could bear. I lost friends, interests, and traits that I might never be able to reconcile, but no sacrifice can come without revelation. I have to thank every God there ever is, and ever was, and if there isn't, thank every force in the universe that grants me the privilege to endure what I had to go through. The path that we take in life often leads adrift from what we hope to achieve, but it is a necessary evil that we must endure to reach the destination that we long for. My purpose for standing before you today is not to affirm that I can overcome my problems, but to affirm that as a collective group, as an army of red, as the graduating members of the class of We Made It, that we can overcome anything. And when you reflect on your past, never think of what the path could have been, but what the path had to be in order for it to make you into the person that you are today. Now, I'm not saying that I have the answer to life figured out, or that my future is clear-cut from here on forward. If I'm being honest, I'm scared, possibly more than I've ever been before in my life. But if I can climb the mountain of the cliff that I jumped off of, then so can each and every one of you. I won't lie. It is surreal to stand before you today in this cap and gown, reciting these words, not because I'm terrified of public speaking, but because I never thought I'd live to see the day. When I look before you, I can't help but to get a little choked up. No words in any language, no accumulation of any symbols or sounds of any magnitude can express how proud I am for how hard we have fought to be here today. I hope that it is the last time that we live in spite of who we used to be. We might all come from different walks of life. We might all have different stories to tell, but we can all say that we made it. So, seniors, let us not leave today with heavy hearts or fear of what might come next, but with the sense of knowing that no obstacle, no amount of loss can ever take away from all that we have persevered. And I know that this isn't part of the script, but I would actually like to give a huge shout out to my family, all my brothers from the Dragon Squad, every staff and faculty member, the choir here and in front of me, and most importantly, to all of you guys in your cap and gowns. Believe me when I say that none of this journey, for better or worse, would have been possible without your sacrifices. Thank you, class of 2017.
Brandon Castro Garcia.